Looking for a card that expands? Well, look no further. Today we have panel cards, 3, 4, and 5 panel cards. So if you've got a large group to sign one of your glorious cards, today's video is for you. Hello, everybody. I'm Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so glad you guys are joining me for today's Tuesday tip. We are going to learn some great ways to extend a card. Let's head over to the stamping table and get started. I think we've all been in the position that we have needed a card that will allow more people to sign. And so, as I said at the beginning, I've got 3 cards to share with you. I'm going to start with my first one. This is a great one, just a feel better, just a great get well card. So if you've got maybe some friends at church or office group, this would be a great card that many people can sign. Before I share the measurements, I want to remind you there is a free download that goes along with today's card. So you'll have the photos, the supply list, the measurements. If you need to come back and watch the video, you can click or scan the QR code to do that. And that way you can create these cards when you need them. By the way, there's also a supply list. And if you're in the United States, guys, I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I appreciate your support of the channel. Click this image. You can see everything I used on today's cards. You can order there as well. All right, with that, let's create that first card. This card is going to feature 2 stamp sets, the Flowers of Beauty. Now you notice there's not a sentiment in that one, so I brought in Comforting Thoughts. Flowers of Beauty also has a matching die set, and yep, we're going to use this die right here. My card base is in Berry Burst. This is a 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And then I have 2 pieces of basic white. These are going to create our extenders for the inside. This one here is a 5 1/4 by 8, scored at 4 inches. This one here is a 4 by 5 1/4. I've got some designer series paper here. I've got a 4 by 3 3/4. I have a 1 1/2 by 4. By the way, this is the exact same paper. I'm just going to use the opposite side. I have one piece that is 1/2 by 5 1/4. 3 pieces, 1/2 by 4 inches. I have a piece of Berry Burst that's a 2 1/4 by 3 3/4 to die cut my kind of my focal image here. You notice it goes off the end of the cardstock. That is fine. It actually needs to be a little bit shorter for this card, so I'm not at all worried about that. I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and we're going to have this image. Now we do need to do one more die cutting, and that is we're going to create just a simple flower from that Unbounded Love bundle. That would be the Flowers of Beauty stamp set. I stamped that in Bubble Bath, and then my outline layer was in Berry Burst, and then I die cut that as well. Let's do a little stamping in Bubble Bath on our extending pieces. So I have got the outline, and I'm going to stamp that in Bubble Bath. We're going to go right down here in the corner. Then I'll take, this is the folded version, and I am going to stamp a flower here on the front. And then I'm going to open up the card, and I'm going to add another one down here. Now it's time to bring in a sentiment. And we're going to do that in Berry Burst. So you can get as creative as you want here, but let's start. This would be that 4 by 5 1/4. And down here at the bottom, I'm going to say, we're here for you. Of course, perfect sentiment since we're going to have lots of people signing this. I have one of those 1/2 inch by 4 inch pieces of designer series paper. We'll add that at the top, and then we can add that to the inside of the card. All right. Now let's go ahead and work on this one. I'm going to adhere that 5 1/4 inch piece of designer series paper. And then on this, we're going to say, you're not alone. We had 2 more pieces of designer series paper. I'll add one at the top, one here at the bottom. And now we have one more thing to stamp. Healing, peace, rest. And now that can adhere to the inside of the card. Let's decorate the front. We'll add that 4 by 3 3/4 designer series paper. Now we're going to do the opposite side, and we'll add that to the bottom. I didn't tell you about this piece, and I should have. This is just a little 1/8 of an inch by 4 inches of the In Color Glimmer. I love adding glimmer. It just gives, you know, it's a great way to cover up a seam, but gives so much wow factor. I'm going to use the multi-purpose glue to adhere that because it's just so thin. It's just going to line up there on each side, covers up that seam, but I love that shimmer. And I'm also going to use the multi-purpose glue. You see, I'm really just kind of tapping just some little tiny dots of my glue. You could use adhesive sheets as well. You guys know I love adhesive sheets, but we're now going to take that, and you see it has that straight edge at the bottom, and that's going to allow that to fit perfectly on our card. On a little 1 1/4 by 2 inch, I stamped, hope this is a feel better kind of day. Now I can add that flower. By the way, that was done with dimensionals, and I'm going to take one more stamp of dimensional and kind of put it right here at that bottom right corner, and I will add my flower right there. And now we have a really great 3-panel card. So depending on the number of people that you have or how much you want to write, you've got lots of space with that card. Let's create another card, and this one has 4 panels. You're going to love this next card. So if you're really short on time, this is the card for you. So this one uses an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. I have cut it in half at 4 1/4 inches, and I've scored that one at 5 1/2 inches. Now this piece I did cut just a little bit off. So this is a 4 1/8 by 10 3/4, and I scored it at 5 3/8. So it's just going to be just a hair less, and you can see it's going to just tuck right inside, and that will give us our 3 panels. I'll be using 2 stamp sets on this one as well. I loved this image here in painted lavender, but again, this stamp set didn't have a sentiment. So I used the Hope You Know. Just saying thank you doesn't seem like enough. Hope you know how much your kindness is appreciated. We always need those cards, right? We're going to start with the card base, and I can see which one is the card base because it's going to be the larger one. So let's start with this. And in a boho blue ink pad, oh friends, this is so quick and easy. I'm going to take this great little leafy image, and I'm going to stamp it right here inside my card. Now on this one, I want the opening up there at the top because that's how it's going to go in my card. And I'm going to stamp another leafy image there. You're going to open it up. Let's add one here. And we'll add one down here. All right, so make sure you have that opening correct. That will go right inside of our card base. Now, I do want to show you something. I did on my original card, you notice how light and pale mine is? Well, what I ended up doing is I stamped in that boho blue, I stamped off once, and then inside my card. This means people could write over this image. So again, depending on how many people you have writing, if you want to go bolder, just do it full strength. If you need it a little bit lighter, you can always stamp off first. Okay, let's create this simple front focal image. I've got a piece of the Thoughtful Journey designer series paper. That is a 2 inch by 5 1/2 inch. Just like we did with that glimmer paper, well, I have a piece of Pretty Peacock. Again, I really like hiding those seams. Just a thin line of my multi-purpose glue. This piece is longer, by the way, and I'm just going to trim it down, but we're just going to butt that up right up against that designer series paper. We'll just snip away the excess, and with the Pretty Peacock ink, we will stamp our thank you sentiment right there. I mean, that is one easy and quick card. Isn't that just beautiful? So there's another quickie, and this one would be good for the guys too. Be sure to head over to simplysimplestamping.com or look down in the YouTube description because I want you to have that free download that goes along with today's video. When you're ready to extend a card, this download will make it so easy with all those measurements. All right, now let's create a 5-panel card. So yeah, we've got a message here, 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 here. Yep, lots going on, but it's still a really pretty card, and I'm going to let Designer Series paper be the star. And this is the Wildly Flowering Designer Series paper, and I've got a piece that is 5 1/4 by 8, scored at 4 inches. I really liked this boulder image on the front, so you kind of decide which side you like best. I think I like this one best. I'm going to put some adhesive here on the back, and I'm going to adhere that to a piece of early espresso that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. All right, there's that part of our card. For my panels, I have 2 equal pieces of basic white, and these are 4 3/4 by 7 inches, and then I've scored them at 3 1/2 inches. So let's start with this one. So this is the one that will go up at the top. I chose the Wild Ferns stamp set for this card, wishing you well today, tomorrow, and every day that follows. So again, that can be a get well, that can be happy retirement, that could be just all kinds of little things, but it's just a wishing you well. We'll bring in a Moody Mauve ink pad, and we are going to take this tall leafy image, and we're going to stamp this several times. So I'm going to start kind of right here in the middle, and then I'm going to not re-ink and stamp again. So I get a little bit lighter image. I'm going to go solid, and then I'll come over here and go light, and one more. All right, so basically what we did is first generation, second generation, first, second, first. I'm going to open up the card, and I will add one of those images right down here. In advance, I did just a here's to new beginnings. And I have that on just a little scrap of some early espresso. All right, let's add this to the inside of our card. And you see, I made this a little bit smaller so that we could have some of that inside Designer Series paper kind of peek through. All right, now we'll do our second panel. And remember, this one will open the opposite way. So the opening is up at the top. And in Moody Mauve, we'll stamp a fern there. And then here on the inside, we'll add another. That will adhere on the bottom part of our card. All right, so there you go. All those great panels to write on. Now, again, just keeping it really simple, I did a little heat embossing. So I stamped the sentiment there, and then I die cut it with the perennial postage dies. If you didn't have these, you could easily just cut this into a rectangle. I have Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. We'll simply add that to the front of our card, and there we go. Guys, I think that you can see that any card image is going to work great, all right? The card image is all up to you. It was fun to share just some really simple ideas because I think you guys can see these could just be simple cards. You can get creative with some of your favorite front designs. What you really want to just keep in mind is how you can extend any of your favorite cards, and it is very easy to do. I hope these 3 ideas has you inspired. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope that you liked today's video. If you did, would you give me a thumbs up on YouTube? I always appreciate those. And if you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button, ring the bell, and YouTube will let you know when I'm back with another video. Thank you again for being here, everyone. Can't wait to stamp with you next time. Bye-bye.